In 1963, a bike safety film put rubber monkey masks on 10 children and sent them cycling toward a picnic lunch. One by one, the narrator cheerfully announced their doom as each one broke a traffic rule. 9 children never made it. The film is called One Got Fat. Nobody in it ever acknowledges the masks. Nobody explains the masks. The masks are simply there, covering every face in every frame, and somehow that is the most disturbing creative decision in the entire history of the educational film. The man delivering those cheerful eliminations was Edward Everett Horton. In 1963, Horton was 73 years old, a veteran character actor who had appeared in some of Hollywood's most beloved comedies, including Top Hat alongside Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. His voice was warm, faintly amused, and carried a quality that made every small disaster sound like an interesting plot development rather than a permanent removal from the story. The setup is simple. 10 children want to reach a birthday picnic. Each one has a bicycle, a name, and exactly one bad habit. The film's job is to show what happens when each bad habit meets the road. Orville, the hero, has no bad habit. The other 9 each carry theirs like a small sentence waiting to be read aloud. The monkey masks cover every face in the film. Every child, throughout the entire runtime, wears a full rubber primate mask with human eyes looking out from behind it. No one has ever produced a definitive explanation for this choice. A reasonable guess is cost and simplicity. Masks eliminated the complications of child casting and continuity. The effect the masks actually produced was something no cost-cutting measure has ever accidentally created before or since. The first child eliminated rides without watching where he is going. Horton narrates the exit from the story with the gentle finality of someone marking an item off a list. The film does not show anything graphic. It does not need to. Horton's tone and the implied permanence of the announcement do work that 100 horror films could not. Then it keeps going. A child who rides too close to parked cars. A child who ignores a traffic signal. A child who carries too many items on her handlebars. Each elimination is its own short story with a beginning, a mistake, and a conclusion. Horton reads them all with the same warm composure as though he is narrating a nature documentary about a particularly unfortunate migration. Orville is the only child whose mask you stop thinking about, because Orville is the only child doing everything right. He stops at intersections. He signals his turns. He keeps both hands on the handlebars. By the time the film reaches its midpoint, Orville is the last masked monkey child still moving toward the picnic. And the viewer has been so thoroughly conditioned by the previous eliminations that his survival feels genuinely improbable. The ending delivers exactly what the title promises. Orville arrives at the picnic. There's food for 10 children. Orville is the only one there. He eats. Horton delivers a brief moral about bicycle safety. The film ends on a shot of one masked child eating a lunch that was meant for everyone. In 1963, this was apparently considered a satisfying conclusion for a school assembly. Horton's presence gives the film a layer it never intended. He spent the 1920s and 1930s in some of Hollywood's most sophisticated comedies. Later in the 1960s, he would narrate fractured fairy tales on The Rocky and Bullwinkle Show, a segment that also used a pleasant storytelling voice to deliver darkly comic fates to its characters. One Got Fat sits between those two phases of his career like an unsigned experimental short that somehow got screened in gymnasiums. The 1960s educational film industry was vast and nearly invisible. Dozens of production companies received contracts from school districts, government agencies, and civic organizations to produce short films on every subject imaginable: bicycle safety, nuclear preparedness, personal grooming, table manners. These films were not made by artists. They were made by professionals filling a need under tight deadlines. And the results ranged from competent to genuinely strange. One Got Fat survived because Rick Prelinger had spent years collecting exactly this kind of film. The Prelinger archives gathered thousands of ephemeral films, including educational shorts, industrial films, and public service announcements, and eventually donated the collection to the Library of Congress. Prelinger also partnered with the Internet Archive to make the films freely available online. That is how One Got Fat found its second audience, one far larger than any school district could have assembled. When the film reached the open internet, the reaction was not horror, it was a specific kind of delight. The kind that happens when something is so tonally wrong, it becomes its own category of right. The monkey masks became an immediate reference point. Horton's voice was clipped and replayed. What had been a forgotten safety reel became one of the most discussed short films in the entire Prelinger collection. What the film was actually trying to do was use consequence as a teaching tool. Show a child the outcome of a bad choice, and the child will avoid it. This was the same logic behind driver's education crash films of the same era, behind nuclear preparedness shorts, behind nearly every cautionary educational film of the period. The difference in One Got Fat is the masks. The masks turned consequence into something else entirely, something closer to ritual than instruction. Because the copyright on One Got Fat was never renewed, the film belongs to everyone now. You can download it, screen it, study it, share it. The public domain did not just preserve this film. It gave it a second life its makers never imagined. This is what the prelingerarchives actually accomplished. Not saving important films, but saving films nobody called important and letting audiences decide what matters. The real vault finds more films like this one, films that slipped out of their original purpose and became something stranger and more interesting on the other side. If you want to know what else is hiding in the archive, subscribe and we will show you.